like manifestation. When I went to this interview, I was told I had at least 5 to 6 interviews where I have to interview all the way up to the GM. So I actually went on the mirror and I wrote, I am going to get this job tomorrow. They asked me a question, I answered it like I already had it. I hung up and 5 minutes later, I got a call saying I got the job. So I managed to skip those next 2 interviews, which I mentally could not have happened.
Welcome to the hard part. The guest I have here today, Ui Eli. Ui is a sport massage therapist for over 25 years with experience working with Olympic profession athletes. But she is not only just a massage therapist. She has that special gift that last year she helped me to find the core problem that I have with my life and my career. Her ability to nail down the complicated things into a single problem definitely helped me a lot, which we can touch on later. So Ui, how are you doing lately?
I'm doing great.
So what is the one thing that you're doing and you feel most passionate lately?
Well, it's not lately. My passion is massage, muscle work, body work, helping people. I'm blessed because I've gotten to spend my whole life doing that. So that's basically what I do. And what I have been doing is just helping people every day, any chance I can.
What's your life before doing massage? Did you just find your dream life right after college or right after studying?
Oh, actually, that's not quite how my story goes. After college, my family was threatening to send me in the military. I was a little wild without being wild, but I was a little, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to travel, do whatever. And my parents were threatening to send me to military or the Catholic school. Neither one I would survive. So I was like, I'm going to go into massage. So I went and jumped in and signed myself up and went to massage school. No idea what massage was back then. This is so long ago. Massage was associated with other stuff. And I went into massage school and I didn't know what it was. I go in, they're like, okay, you're going to go behind a little curtain. You're going to take your clothes off and get on the table. And I'm like, what? Like, what the heck am I doing? Because I was 20 years old. And they're like, this is massage. Like, I'm like, why can't I keep my clothes on? So in sports therapy, I work with people, you're fully clothed. In massage, if you go to spas, you're pretty much naked under the sheets. I did not know that. So that was my crash course into massage. Up until then, I didn't like to touch people. So crash course into touching people. And it's just something that I excelled at. That's the one thing about me is intuition. I listen to my intuition. I had no clue what this profession was. It wasn't even accepted back then. It was still considered red light district stuff. And when I went into it, I've been in it for over 30 years now.
Wow. So I have a question regarding that. You were saying that you don't like to touch people with your hands, right? I didn't like to back then. But you choose to be in massage therapist.
It was intuitive. I didn't know what it was. So I signed up. School back then was still $6,500. So I'm sure it's way more now. I knew it was something I could get through quickly. It was only a year-long program. I could make decent money. I think back then you're charging $40 an hour. So back then that's a lot of money. I didn't realize again until, later that that's connected to red light district stuff. I've only seen one massage therapist. People are closed. He's basically doing compression work. I was like, that's an easy way to make money. And then next thing I know, they're squeezing and petrissaging and rubbing oils all over people. I'm like, what?
So can you share on your journey of getting into acceptance of stick into that massage industry? For instance, for me, if I get into that industry, if I don't like it, usually people would just quit, right? Change their direction. How did you decide to stick to that? Besides of your intuition, definitely.
I don't really quit things very well. I actually have to have people kick me out of things because I just tend to stick to things. That's just who I am. And I, I already paid $6,500, so I wasn't going to lose that money. And after they sat there and explained, there's no hanky panky, there's no weirdness going on. Then I was like, all right, I'll stick this out. So, and then within a couple of weeks, I found out I'd excelled at what I did. I was a natural. It's funny for someone that doesn't like touching people, I excel at helping people using my hands as a gift.
It is interesting how that comes to you, how you discover your gift from, at first you resist of not wanting to touch people, but then you realize that you actually have that gift around touching people.
Well, I mean, for me, I've always been intuitive. I'm not psychic, but I just know things. Does that make sense? I was always told if my intuition told me to jump, it would be safe to jump off a bridge, I probably would. So even when I moved to California, I went in, I took a shower. And I came back out and I was like, I'm moving to California. And I had a business then. I closed up my business, turned everything around, and moved within less than 3 months. I had clients that were crying. They were super upset. They're like, how do you just take a shower and come out? And like, I'm moving to California. I'm like, I don't know, but I know I'm moving to California. That would be listening to your gut, your heart, your intuition. It's listening to your inner self.
Yeah, the purpose of the podcast is pretty much inviting people who are listening to their hearts, guts, or intuition. But I do want to ask you, even though a lot of people get intuition or get signals of doing stuff, but usually people wouldn't do it. What makes you trust deeply into your intuition and to go on and do it?
My parents don't really believe in intuitive or psychic. It was never talked about. We were actually raised very religious, strict religious, in fact. But as a kid, I've always just had feelings, and they've always gotten me out of situations. So I just follow them. Even recently, I applied for a very luxurious hotel. So now I'm going to be doing a Forbes rated massage, which is very high end. It was funny because I talked to the gal, and then she was like, okay, well, we'll get back and see if we make an appointment. I didn't hear from her for like 3 days. So, this is California. They may tell you they're going to meet you or talk to you. You don't hear from them. It's very interesting here. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I'm like, maybe I will find another lead or find another avenue or something to work at. And it was really funny because 3 nights later, I was watching Hacks on HBO. It's with an older female comedian. But they're like not even 5 minutes into it. And when they show like Las Vegas scenes on TV, it's always the MGM Grand or, like one of the more well-known established hotels that's been there forever. And it was funny because 10 minutes in that they turned around, they flashed on the particular hotel chain that I went and applied for. And I was like, I'm going to have an interview tomorrow. I woke up and they texted me and I had an interview at 9 a.m. So didn't have a lot of time to get ready for that. But it's just, I've always gotten signs. When we had to pass my state test for massage, you'd wait like 3 or 4 months, and then you had to take this big test through the state. Like we had to drive to the state. It was way different than it is now. And you have to do a practical and a written. That's a whole year of information that we had to learn and all of a sudden come back 3 months later and start testing on. So me and one of my friends, we went to a cabin up in the mountains and we were studying for it. It was a 5 or 6 day trip. And day 2 or 3 into it, it was in the mountains, like snowed like 2.5 feet. She's like, hey, let's go walk for breakfast. I'm like, okay, 2.5 miles to walk to breakfast. I don't like to walk or hike. So I was just like, what am I getting myself into? 2.5 miles. Go to breakfast, have a great time. We're coming back. And the hair on the back of my neck starts raising. And she's like, I go, you need to stop. And she's like, what? I'm like, I don't know what it is, but you need to stop. So we stop, and not even 50 feet behind us, a herd of moose were crossing the street. And as big as they were, we couldn't hear them. I just felt them. And they had like baby moose with them. And it was crazy because she's like, we can't do anything. I'm like, I know, they could turn around and trample us. So we sat there and the big moose got right in front and protected the whole herd. And they finished crossing the street and they went on their way. And I'm like, studying's done. She's like, what? I'm like, we're going to pass the test. We don't need to study anymore. So we quit studying and went out and socialized the rest of the 3 days we were there and had a blast. Both of us passed the test. So I've always gotten signs. It could be through animals or TV or whatever. When I applied for the Olympics, I'm going against thousands of people, a lot of people that are chiropractors, doctors, like people that are trying to get in our field to go to the Olympics. Back then I didn't have experience. This was a long time ago. And I'm like, they're like, you don't have experience working with athletes. But I'm like, but I fix people. I can get 10 doctors to, write me letters that say I help them with their clients and this and that. And they're like, that's still not going to get you picked for the Olympics. It got me picked for a couple different teams, just knowing. If you listen to your heart, it will never, or your conscience or your intuition, it'll never fail you. If you question it, it will always fail you.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all that magnificent example of reading the sign and knowing that what's your answer. Like you're saying, seeing the animal crossing the roads, and then the next thing you know is that you don't have to study for the text. Like, how can you even relate that to your question?
I mean, that is just a knowing. And I think that's too, because I'm Hawaiian. I'm actually Hawaiian Chinese. I don't look it. So you've got 2 nations that are healing nations who back before we became modernized, you did listen to sign. You looked at the plants, you looked at the sky, you listened to your dreams or whatever. I actually didn't even find out until the pandemic that I had healers on both sides of my family, my mom's side and my dad's side. Because for me, when I work on people, I want to say this is kind of weird, but it dummies down my energy because people are so chaotic and they have so many issues and whatnot. And I like working on people because I don't want to be this way. Other people want to be psychic or intuitive. I don't want to be. And you'll find that most people are naturally, truly gifted and have an intense gift of psychic or intuition or whatever. Almost all of them that I have met don't want to be that way because it's a lot of responsibility. And then you question what's being told to you, question yourself. You've got to deal with your own ego. So it's a lot of responsibility. I don't want to be that way. I don't want somebody to walk in and be like, why do you have a headache? And they're like, how do you know I have a headache? I'm like, because I can feel your headache. So I like working on people because it muddies down the water. But during the pandemic, we weren't working with people. Oh my gosh, for me, stuff got out of control. You start to think you're crazy. Only at that time, my cousins and people are like, you have healers on both sides of your family. I'm like, how's nobody tell, but my families live on an island, so you don't really talk about that stuff. And we were raised religious. And also on particularly one side of my family, if they're going to teach you, they pick someone in the family that they believe has the most power or abilities, and they train that person. That was my mom, and she turned it down because we were coming into a more modernized world. So she turned it down, never spoke of it again. And then, all this stuff is happening to me, and I'm just like, what is going on with me? I'm crazy, whatnot. And all this stuff will come around if there's not a lot of, I call it noise around you. If you're not around a lot of electronics, you're not around a lot of people, that's like your Tibetan monks. When they truly want to evolve, they go within themselves and they're in peace, they're in quiet. There's not a lot of noise around you, including you're in areas where you don't have the noise. If you have above ground telephone lines, that's noise. You can hear it. You can feel it. At least I'm aware of it. Most people aren't because it's not something they focus on it. But that kind of stuff is noise. You're surrounded by it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you're coming from the family that is more having these healers on both sides, and you are coming from a family that's more of getting in touch with these intuitions. But as you are saying that if we isolate ourselves or put ourselves into this quiet environment, you are most likely be able to be in touch with your own intuition. Do you think that's the ability that everyone can develop?
Yeah. Everyone has the ability to be intuitive. You lost that the way we were raised and our social media and everything. So you can pair it up with like fear. When you're born with two fears. I'm sure you've heard of this. As a baby, your fear is fear of loud noise and fear of falling. Every other fear that you have, you either created yourself, actually, I don't even think that's true. I think really what I've heard the most is your parents gave you that fear. So you learned your fears from your parents, your friends, and your outside environment, what you watch, things like that. And again, if you're surrounded by fears and stuff, you've got all that noise, you're never going to be as open to evolving. This is kind of what you're talking about, evolving intuitively. If you're drinking or doing drugs, you're not going to be intuitive. I sit there and watch all these Reiki practitioners at parties drinking, and they're like, oh my gosh, let me do energy work on you. And, the person they're working on, they're like, I don't feel anything. I'm like, you can't, she's drinking. You know what I mean? So if you have stuff that are skewing, you're not doing energetic healing if you're doing stuff like that.
Yes.
A lot of pot smokers are going to tell you that's not true. They open their abilities, or, people doing mushrooms or ceremonies, and that's a whole different thing versus recreational use and trying to heal people.
In modern society, there are so many noise around us. There are so many things that distract us from going within. The key is actually to go within, that we can have this inner knowing and have more clear idea on our intuition. Found that a lot of people, as they evolve and then they develop their intuition, but they have this fear. Maybe you are saying, next day I'm going to move to California. Next day I'm going to do this and that. There are many things that needs to step out of the comfort zone even though I know that, intuitionally, I should go to this California. Intuitionally, I know I need to go to Hawaii or whatever. But there are many reality reasons that stop people from doing that. Do you have any suggestion on that? Do you ever overcome this kind of fear when you try to turn the things around?
I don't really face things with fear. When I feel it, it's like, can I do this? And then you do it. There's also things I know I can't do, and I sit there and argue with people because they're like, you can do this. I'm like, actually, I can't, because there's licenses, there's laws, there's things like that. So if you intuitively feel something, you feel it in your heart and your gut, just do it. If you listen to anybody else, most people are going to tell you you can't do it. You're not good enough. You're not this. I was raised mostly with guys. I wasn't raised with Barbie dolls and stuff. So me with guys, we're like, let's go try and climb a tree. Okay. Let's go create a fort. Okay. So you didn't sit there and think about what you're going to do. You're going to do it. You just did it. It's different. Occasionally I'd hang out with the neighborhood, girlfriend, and it would take us a long time to get something done. It could be how you're raised. There's a lot of factors that come in that could limit you. If you're into all the self-help stuff, a lot of people will tell you as you evolve, people around you who you've chosen, if they are not the types that are going to evolve with you, they are going to do everything they can to hold you back. And when I was going for the Olympics, everyone's like, you can't do that. You don't have the experience. And I'm like, why can't I? I help people, So I had enough, and I had a lot of doctors, which is pretty rare for, a massage therapist. I had a lot of doctors backing me, and then they picked my resume. So had I listened to everyone, including my family, my whole path would have been different versus going into sports. And I did it different because I went and worked the Olympics within the first couple of years of graduating. Usually, if you go to the Olympics, you have to work local sporting events. Then you have to work your way up to team events. Then you have to work your way up to Junior Olympics. Then you have to, national teams. Then you have to work your way up to Olympics. I just went straight to the Olympics.
That's amazing journey that you have here. In your lifetime, is there any event that ever brings you into hesitation of following your intuition? If there is, how did you overcome it? I bet a lot of audience would want to know more about that you are so intuitive. And if you ever really encounter to some of the fear that you're facing, how did you overcome it?
Actually, right now, one of the things I want to do, I have a lot of education. I have so many technique certificates that I have thousands and thousands of hours, where most people, except for Canadians, and maybe even Europeans, but most people, I think the average hours for massage therapists in the US is 500 hours. I have thousands and thousands and thousands because I have a certificate problem. I like to get certified. So recently I want to get certified in breathwork. I like breathwork. I don't like leading classes. I don't mind doing things in front of groups. I don't like talking in front of groups. So that is my fear, I guess you could say, is to lead a breathwork class. And then also at the same time, I don't want to do the breathwork class that everyone else is doing. If I do something, I want it to be unique. I want it to be breathwork, maybe tied in with postural work. I just don't want to do something everyone else is doing. So because I haven't figured out what exactly it is I want to do in this class, I haven't done it. And that's, again, once you start thinking, you don't do it. And I paid for the cert maybe a year ago, and then a whole lot of other things came in, but I still have it. And every day for the last month, I've gotten up. I'm like, I need to work on this cert. It's only 70 hours. They tell you it takes 6 weeks to finish. For me, that's going to be 3 or 4 hours. That's all I have to do is once I start it, I'll get it. And then life, gets a little crazy. So for me, I actually just made up my mind. I'm going to do this before I start my new job because it's just something I want. So because it's not high on my priority list, I actually have 10 other certs that I was doing before that one as well. I mean, I'm doing everything not to do breath work. So I'll probably put up a sign or write on my mirror, start this breathwork class. If you have problems going out and do it, you need to visually see it right on your bathroom mirror. Start this class so that you see this. And the more you see that, you're going to be like, oh, I need to start this class, versus you don't see it. If I don't see the paperwork, it's in my iPad. No, I don't open it up and say, it says, do your breathwork class. So I will probably be certified probably within a week once I add that to my mirror tomorrow, which was my plan.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. Actually, we always have this problem of we know that we need to do this, but we keep procrastinating on finishing it. I finished my breathwork certificate that you recommend me. It was like back in January.
Oh, you did get the certification
I got the certification.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you beat me. Now you just made it. So I will actually, now I'm going to have to do it just because you did it. Now I am ready. Because now it's like, I'm not going to have time. I have to do it now, right?
Wow, it's amazing. It's like a synchronicity just happening in the podcast.
Yeah. So that's how intuition works. It's like, I know I need to do it. I just need something to get me, like, put that fire under my butt. And now you just told me that. Now I'm going to do that because you just got certified and I'm the one that told you about it. You know what I mean? So I literally have like 1 free week. So I'll probably and I already know that I'll probably be certified in a week. And and again, once I start saying that, it's going to happen. Like I'm not putting other noise saying, oh, I don't have time, whatever. It's like, I'm putting out the statement, I'm going to be certified in a week. So I will probably be certified in a week.
Yeah, well, so first thing is to visualize whatever you're procrastinating or whatever you decide to do, but not yet doing it, write it down.
If you're visual. Yeah. So write it. I mean, take an ink, those, eraser ink pens. Write it on your mirror. If you have self-esteem issues or you need some type of positive reinforcement, write it on the mirror. You know what I mean? You have a to-do list, write it on the mirror.
Yeah, always remind ourselves in front of our face. And then second is to notice the synchronicity that's coming in front of you. Because like there are signs and there are messengers coming into your life telling you, oh, you should do it and blah, blah, blah. It just all come down to us whether we are the one who's taking the action, right?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing with like manifestation, when I went to this interview, I was told I have at least 5 to 6 interviews where I have to interview all the way up to the GM. And I'm like, what's, like that to me is crazy because I'm never going to deal with that person. But that's the standard for this hotel. And I am talking to you a lot, but usually typically don't like answering questions. I can talk forever, but you ask me a question, I'm like, oh. And so I would say about the 3rd interview, which was just a few days ago, I was like, I'm done. I can't do any more interviews. So I actually went on the mirror and I wrote, I am going to get this job tomorrow, or today. It was today or tomorrow. It was within a 12-hour. So I woke up and I'm like, I'm not doing any more interviews. This job is mine. And I woke up, that was my 3rd interview. So that interview was planned. So I planned it. And it was kind of funny because they asked me a question. I answered it like I already had it. And they're like, no, that's not the way we want. They're like, we want to know what days you're available. And I'm like, no, I need these days off. They're like, we're not there yet. And so it was kind of funny, but I was told then, I was going to be progressed to my next interview. If it does go through, it's going to take this much time, whatever. I was like, nope, I'm going to have this job. I don't even think I hung up, and 5 minutes later, I got a call saying I got the job. I already know the training set. So I managed to skip those next 2 interviews, which I mentally could not have happened. But I also did that because I'm at a time in my life where I don't go out and party. I'm not drinking and I'm not partying a lot. So I'm in I hate saying I'm a clearer vessel versus somebody that's partying, playing. They're worried about what other people are thinking. They're out, like that. It's not going to happen for them like that. For me, I'm still dumbfounded that I was clearly told I had 6 interviews, 5, 6 interviews, and I managed to skip the last 2. So if you're in a good place and you manifest, you can manifest things. It's like that intuition. If you're in a good place and you get a signal, it's a clear signal. You're not questioning it. It's like, I need to do this. I didn't need to work at a hotel. I've worked with rock stars. I've done athletes. I've worked in high-end country clubs. So it's the only aspect of massage I haven't done is worked in high-end luxury hospitality hotels. So I was like, I got to do this now because I'm running out of time. So I decided to do that. And here I am without luxury experience, by the way. It doesn't matter that you worked in Olympics and you did this. I have no experience working in a luxury high-end hotel.
Yeah, manifestation is about I know I am. Yes. I have. I already.
You are there.
You
have to see yourself there. Yes.
Yeah, and talk like that as well. Not only just to believe it, not only just to brainwash ourselves. We have to really feel it inside of our body.
Yeah. And the other thing too is if you are somebody that's really down on yourself every day, you're creating self-sabotage programs. Like, that's what I kind of work with people. You're creating self-sabotaging programs energetically. So if you have these self-sabotage programs locked into you energetically, it doesn't matter how much positivity you reinforce. If you say I'm the greatest, but you don't believe it, you're actually reinforcing the opposite. You're reinforcing your belief that you aren't the greatest. Does that make sense? And again, that has to be with you being in a good mindset, you being in a good place. If you're not, partying and doing crazy things, you're going to have a lot less negative self-talk, a lot less self-esteem issues. And all that negative self-talk that you're giving to yourself, your ears are hearing. So you're hearing that physically, not just energetically, emotionally. You know what I mean? So you're, that's, one of the ways you're creating those self-sabotage programmings.
Yeah, that's another interesting topic that I wanted to touch on with you today. Remember in the beginning of the introduction, I was saying that you work with me on that session with the somatic emotional testing session. The way you explained to me is that we have this emotional stuff that's stuck within us in our energetic field. Can you explain how that works? How did you detect from either you are doing the muscle testing? How did you come up with knowing that there is something stuck in this person's energetically?
So I use muscle testing. That's, something out there that a lot of people use muscle testing, kinesiologists, chiropractors, in the alternative healthcare field. In the conservative, they don't believe in that. Again, if you're not in the right frame mode and you're testing people, or for me, I will test people that are testing me, because if, you're going to someone and they're working with vitamins and they want you to buy that vitamin, they can influence you if you're muscle testing. So one thing I do is I make sure whoever I see that's muscle testing is there and they've taken their ego out of the way and they're giving you true information. So like for me, my goal is really to help you, but I just clear my mind and we'll go through and test and figure out what's wrong with you. By muscle testing, you're using a muscle as an indicator. So I'm testing a muscle. You'll see that where they hold the arm up. And if it's a positive, you'll stay strong. If it's a negative, you'll go weak. There's other ways of muscle testing. But again, if I'm the tester and I'm testing positive and I want to work with you, I can influence that testing and make it seem like a positive or a negative, even though it's not. Sometimes I'll work with people and I swear that they're testing themselves and not me. So it's, again, you have to know who you're working with, but you also have to have an open mind. If you have an open mind, then you're going to get pretty spot on testing results, right? So I'm just going through and I'm looking at charts. Like when we go through and we find your emotions, I have charts with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emotions, whether it's like truth or sadness, fears, and self-righteous indignation or other emotions. I don't even know what half of them mean, because I don't sit there and memorize the definition of any of them. And if I test on that and it comes up for you, well, I'm like right there with you. We're both Googling what the definition is and then trying to figure out how that fits into your life and why that emotion has gotten stuck energetically in your body. So if you have issues with trust and I'm muscle testing you, you're not going to be able to hold your arm up, right? If you don't have issues with trust and I'm testing you, you're going to hold strong. So with muscle testing, you can test a lot of things. You can test, like, is food good for you? I will have people hold energetic. So this is energetic. It's not like I'm not diagnosing, but I'll have people hold food up to their chest or whatever, and we'll test them. And energetically, it's maybe something their energetic field doesn't want. So it's kinesiology. It's like, this is all based off of kinesiology, applied kinesiology. I've taken practical kinesiology. I've taken so many classes. I mean, Touch for Health. I don't even know what I've taken anymore.
Well, there's one thing you brought up that's really interesting and need a lot of discernment on, that is that you are saying you need to be aware of who is doing muscle testing for you. How did you discern between whether to trust that person, whether they're trying to manipulate you into their way, or whether they're just doing the good with the benefits of you?
For me, again, I'm intuitive. And then I work in the physical realm with like massage. So where a lot of people are not good at reading other people, I can read people. So, I mean, any interviewer, people that hire, just not even energetically, you can feel it. If you have somebody that's negative that walks in the room, that negative energy is going to affect the entire room. And you can actually muscle test and see if that's accurate. For me, I intuitively know, or two, I'm usually muscle testing myself to know if this person's good for me. If I'm working with my clients, I'm usually intuitively working with them. My clients will come in. No one tells me what's wrong with them because I don't want to know, because then they're going to hold on to that story. They're going to be like, oh, I have this back pain, whatever. They're going to hold on to that story the whole entire massage. It doesn't matter what I'm going to do. They're going to leave with that because it's now become their story. So when people come to see me, I'm just like, hey, how's it going? Whatever. I'll let them voice a couple things, and probably that's not what I'm going to end up working with. So if people come in and have a low back problem, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably never going to touch their low back. And they're like, I came in for low back. I'm like, but that wasn't your problem. So I'm working with energetically what stands out to me, or fascially, what stands out to me. Fascia, if you're going with fascia, your pain is not the problem. It's a compensation for another area. I've had a couple times where I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're testing yourself and not me, because these are not, you have to know yourself. So I know my issues, that they're coming up with stuff. I'm like, that's not me. And come to find out it was their issues. So for me too, also, I think there's people who are a little more energetically in tune than others. If you are like a little more, if you are higher frequency or a little more energetically in tuned, it's become an issue for me. I actually don't go to people very rarely. You're one of the few that I went to. I will very rarely go to other practitioners, because what happens to me is if I go to them, I end up starting working on them. And then I feel like crap. And they're like, I feel amazing. I'm like, it's because you stole all my energy. So, and it's kind of like the muscle testing. If you've got somebody whose goal is to make a certain amount of money, you're going to end up testing weak for a whole bunch of vitamins you probably don't need if you're going to a kinesiologist. Does that make sense? I know I'm taking a long way to answer this. That's just a weird way for me to answer it. And that's just from my experience. And I've been to a lot of testers. I've been to acupuncturists who muscle test. I've been to kinesiologists. I've taken a whole ton of classes too. I've been to chiropractors that muscle test. I've been to massage therapists. So I've been to a lot of people who test. And I find that's pretty consistent. If you find somebody that's open, it's going to be very accurate. You're probably not going to need that many vitamins and to do that much stuff. If you go to someone that's got a financial goal, you're going to leave probably buying $300 or $400 worth of product. So that's another way you can kind of figure it out.
So when you're saying that you can actually tell whether another tester, they're telling you it's your problem, but they're actually projecting their problem onto you. How can you actually tell? You're saying that by your muscle testing.
Well, I can muscle test, but I mean, if they're coming up with like emotions, you're like, this is not me at all. Again. And then again, me reading that person, I'm just looking at them. I'm like, this is them. And there's a lot of fields like that people go in to help others, but they're really doing it because they haven't gotten their lives straightened out. So they work on themselves through others. You always hear that, I don't want to pick one particular profession, but there's certain professions out. That's all they do is they help people. And then you come to find out they need some of the most help themselves.
Yes, it does. And I heard that a lot, but I know that if you resonate with that frequency, is that because you have similar frequency. For instance, if you're sensing that negative energy is all around the field, no matter where we go. But if we're picking up on that, that's usually something inside of our energetic field is resonating, has that resonation on that. Have you heard that before? What do you say on that?
It's the same thing, because like I will listen to people and they'll rip on someone for superficial reasons, whatever. And I'm like, so you're ripping on that person. It's because you have issues, those are your own issues. And that quite often is true. For me, if I'm going in for health, if I'm seeing like a practitioner or whatever, and they're throwing in that other stuff, again, if their goal is to sell, that goal can supersede me trying to get better. And we're not connecting energetically on them trying to help me release emotions or whatever. I'm going in for maybe to find out what a gut issue is. And all of a sudden they're trying to sell me all this stuff. It's different. It's not an energetic problem. It's a physical problem.
That brings me into another attention about the energetically, that I was surprised during the session you did with me, and that you found out my problem. It was probably back in 5 years or 10 years ago that I have that problem, and I didn't know it still stuck with me energetically. How did you actually found that, and how did you actually detect that through my energetic field?
So when I'm going through and I'm muscle testing, I'm going through certain categories. I'm finding out whatever that emotion was. When did it happen? Did it happen 5 years ago, 10 years ago? So I'm not psychic. I'm just going through and testing your energy. And it's kind of funny because people are like, you're psychic. I'm like, I'm not psychic. But again, if you probably saw, I had all those charts. Other people have developed these charts. So they connect emotions to chakras or meridians. And so those are all the charts that I'm using. Going back years, if you have 56 years, I'm going back and figuring out when this happened in your lifetime. So not just the brain, your energetic body will lock in traumas and emotions as well as your physical. Not just your brain. You can lock places, like emotions in your organs. You can lock them in your muscles. So it's kind of funny. I took Reiki masters and became, got all these certifications because originally I was going to preach against it because I thought, I'm working with Olympic teams. I'm like, these people are too foo-foo or whatever. And it's my client that I'm working on in class. It's having crazy results. And that's something to do with probably I had a healer on the right side of my family and the left side. So I learned that it's not as crazy as I thought, because like at Reiki, I was working on someone and they're like, focus where you think the energy is. And I was focused on the left shoulder and the right knee. And my client literally, we're all in the dark. There's 30 people, 40 people, start screaming. And she's like, who else is working on me? And we're like, no one. You're crazy. You know what I mean? I'm in this freaking crazy class. And, the teacher, they turn on the lights because she was screaming. It obviously interrupted the whole entire class. And she's like, well, what's going on? She's like, somebody else is working on me. She's like, I feel like her hands, my hand's a practitioner. She's like, and then I feel another set of hands on my shoulder and my right knee. And I'm like, how the heck does she know that? So if you are open energetically too, you can, like, if I teach you, I can, and you know this too, I can give you energy and you can either accept it or rebel it, or I can filter that energy through. So like there's polarity. So you have a positive, negative hand. So you're pushing in good energy, filtering out the bad energy or the blocks, whatever, energetically, whatever you believe in. And you're sending it out the other hand. So for me, I'm working everything. I'm not working just the physical body. I'm working the physical body, the energetic body. So let's say when you were 13 years old and you had a boyfriend and let's go even younger. Let's go 8 years old. If you had a boyfriend, you barely even held hands. You never kissed. You just ran around and said, this is my boyfriend, platonic. When you broke up back then, because that was your first love, it was the most hardest thing for you to get over. Like you cried your eyes out for weeks and weeks, right? Maybe you've stubbed your right toe during that time. So this energy of stubbing your right toe is just making things 1,000 times worse, because like you're never going to get over your first crush at 8 years old. Consequently, we keep living life. So in between that, for the next 10, 15 years, you have like lots of relationships where now it's not as crazy because you've lived through the worst one, right? So maybe you have a platonic friendship with a female friend where you're like bosom buddies, you're really close. And for whatever reason, as women, we get in lots of fights here and there. You end up breaking up and, and your friendship is done. And it's like, it's hard because, your bosom buddy, she did everything with you. She'd go to a horrible restaurant that nobody else would, you know what I mean? So when you broke up, it's just like, it's that platonic heartbreak. And when your body's like, well, the last time I felt like this, I stubbed my toe and it hurt really bad. So that person, 20 years later, she's breaking up with her platonic friendship. And all of a sudden she's like, my foot hurts and I don't know why it hurts. So quite often, like what I'm working on people, and again, if it's an actual injury, sports and whatnot, we know what happened. I'm working with them physically. If you have a problem that's been persisting you for a long time, it could possibly be linked to emotional, or energetically emotional. So I'm looking at that, seeing if it's something locked in your energetic body, or is it physically locked in like your organs. So like a lot of people that have chronic, really bad knee issues, quite often, and this is through multiple beliefs and multiple types of techniques through multiple countries, which always throws me off when I've listened to osteopaths telling the same thing that alternative PTs are saying or things like that, because I take classes all over the world. And what some commonalities are, if you have a lot of knee issues, you probably had a lot of deep buried anger when you were younger, that you just never resolved or dealt with. So knees tend to be with a lot of anger issues. Upper lower back happens to be a lot of security. It could be either relationships, finances, things like that, but security. Shoulders, burdens, you're taking on burdens. Right side stuff, that's your issues. Left side, you're like that mother figure that takes on everybody's issues. Or if you want to go into the physical side of it, maybe you had a concussion. If you concuss the brain, you injure one side of the brain, unless there's, again, direct injuries. Quite often people who get injured tend to injure the same side after a concussion. There's so many ways to look at a body or the energetic field. You've got the physical, you've got the emotional, you've got energetic, things like that. Through muscle testing, I'm just going through and testing. I'm like, am I working with the physical body? Am I working with the energetic body? Am I working with posture? Posture holds emotion. I always see people that are like depressed and whatnot. I'm like, if you're depressed, look up at the sky. It is physically impossible for you to be depressed if you're looking up at the sky, because you're in better posture. If you're in better posture, you can't be depressed. I mean, you could tell yourself depressed, but physically it's hard to be depressed when you're in a non-depressed state posturally. Does that make sense?
It does. Reminds me of sitting up straightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sitting up straight. Yeah. Because you're just in a better mood. If I'm like this, I can only raise my arms up this much. If I'm in good posture, my chin's back, I can raise my arms up all the way. Through what we're talking about, there's no one way to look at anything. I can muscle test, or I can feel it energetically. So again, me going into someone, sometimes I know it, and sometimes I can see it in their posture that we're not connecting, or she's not working with me, or she's got an end goal that's something else. She is a practitioner, or he.
Wow.
Because I'm going to say most healers are usually more, female, feminine side.
Wow. Thank you for so many insights, especially on our body. Chronic pain has been a big issue for everybody. Everybody has some kind of small pain here and there, and has been going on for maybe several years already, and they're just ignoring that issue until it gets worse and worse.
Maybe it'll go away. Yeah. And again, it could be, if you've been to a PT and you've been to a chiropractor and it's not getting better, then it's probably energetic or something else. You've done everything physically, right? So that's when you want to start looking into, I call it the weird.
Oh, amazing. So before we close, there are some questions that I wanted to ask you before we close. So what is the one thing that you wish you could have done or say to younger Ui?
Well, looking back on how things in this nation has gone, I would have said to myself back then, instead of being self-employed, and I actually tell this to all my younger friends and the younger kids, do a job that's got benefits. I mean, this is a financial thing. Do a job that has benefits, because you're going to be able to retire when you're 40, 50. All of us that maybe we made a lot of money here, but by the time we get older, particularly if you didn't get married, it's a lot tougher, and things have changed. And there's now not just 20 massage therapists, there's 10,000 massage therapists. You know what I mean? But like for me, I wish I would have told to my younger, if you want to say energetically or emotionally, listen to your gut. Well, I always did that. So that's hard to tell myself something that I already did, but not to worry so much. Like I was raised in a again, very religious family that was based on fear. And I wish I would have had someone back then to tell me that you could hug yourself, and, like you could hug your little inner child, and maybe I would have been more receptive to touch until I went to massage school, or, just someone that told myself I loved you, or, you're great. I always tell people I became more successful, not because I had people boosting me, because I did it out of rebellion, because people told me I couldn't. So if I was to do something over, I wish I would have known what it would have been like to be in a family environment where they always told you you're good enough. You're a great person. You've done this. It's successful. You know what I mean? If I got to do it again.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge thing.
It is a huge thing that self-love is definitely one of the biggest topic around the world. Yeah. Everyone needs that self-love.
And it's never too late to find it. I mean, I didn't have a lot of that younger, so I found it later. So, I mean, that's another thing. Just tell yourself it's never too late to give yourself love.
Yeah, we found it. And then usually where we found it is always within us, inside of us. We already have
Nobody else is going to give it to you. Only you can give it to yourself.
Yeah. So from rating 1 to 10, How much do you think that you're operating from your heart right now?
I would say 8, 9. I'm pretty high. I just do things. I don't, one of my interview questions, how would you anticipate someone's needs or an issue? And I'm like, I don't. Because if I sit there and anticipate something bad that's going to happen, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So live in the now. So I live in the now, and I do things from love. I don't hang around with people who aren't at my same level. They're not going to raise me up. So that took me a long time to learn, because before I just wanted to like go out and have fun and be surrounded by with as many fun people as I could. Fun was my huge thing growing up most of my life. So learn to have fun with yourself. And then for me, I've done that. So I can have fun anywhere now. You can lock me in a white room, padded room. I probably could entertain myself for like 2-3 days because I do enjoy. And the other thing is, I had a health scare. And I had a lot of friends pass before 50. So I have a unique, not very good advantage that for me, every day past 50 is a bonus day of living. And so if you live like that, you have to live from a heart place. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Every day is a bonus day of living. This is what I got. Live in the now. Do in the now. Let's just do this.
Yes. So recent mantra that I have for myself is living every day as if it's your last day.
Yeah. Or like me, every day is a bonus day of living. Two same ways of looking at it. Every day is a bonus day of living. We're here.
It is. Yeah. It's a more positive statement.
Yeah.
And what is that one thing that you can suggest anyone to create mind and heart coherence?
Get rid of the noise. Start getting into things like breath work, which I can't believe you got certified before me. So now I got to definitely do this. The other thing, I think one of the most popular, maybe 10 years ago, one of the most popular machines that all my, professional athletes that could afford it bought way before most of the rest of America ever heard about it, were flotation pods. Like a lot of them, all my NFL players, everybody was buying those because that's something that shuts the noise off. But you can do that obviously with ear pads and with iPads, things like that. Or go out in nature, put your feet in the ground. So to get rid of the noise, you have to be out of range of frequencies, of telephone poles, of cars going by, things like that. And of people telling you their beliefs, So if you want to learn what your own belief is, you have to be with yourself. So go out in nature, get rid of the noise. And I don't know who this study or belief was, but one of my coaches is like, one of the things he had people do was sit there and focus on nothing, which is what I tried to do when I did the flotation tank. It's like, go in the flotation tank and focus on nothing. Do you know how hard that is? Because at first I'm thinking I'm going to get killed. I'm in Torrance. Nobody knows where I am. I didn't tell somebody. And then I'm like, I'm going to drown, even though it's only a foot of water. Like, it's amazing when you're locked in. I was locked in this big submarine room with like a turn wheel. And I just had to sit there and I was like, okay, just focus on nothing. So another weird thing, if you are energetically open, and everybody has this ability, but if you're much more energetically open, even though I was locked in this big metal room, the top half was metal, not the bottom, it was like a jacuzzi top. It was so weird because again, you have earplugs, you're in this dark room, you don't hear or feel anything. I could feel when people were walking down the hallways. So if you start to open yourself up energetically, you're going to feel a lot more after the pandemic. People walked in, I'm like, why do you have a headache? So if you open yourself up, you're going to feel a lot. You may not want to feel a lot. It's, and also you can't really tell people because no one believes you. They all think you're crazy. I grew up my whole life. Oh, that's Ui. She just does this work. Oh, she does that. Well, you know what? I'm the one going to Olympics. I'm the one working US Open. So there's something to it.
Yeah. Thank you, Ui, for sharing so much. And Ui, you know what? I think that everyone has that intuition that we were just not saying that we're psychic, but they categorize these people as psychic because they're afraid of their intuition. They're afraid of people tuning in. So I would say that everyone, they're actually intuition. They're actually psychic inside of themselves. So it's okay. People call me psychic, then, oh yeah, thanks. But I mean, it's just more of the intuition and sensation stuff that we're sensitive to.
It's listening. So, yeah. If you listen to what you feel, it'll tell you a lot.
It is. It is. Thank you so much for this great conversation, beautiful conversation we have here today.
Thank you for having me.
I know that you're located in Los Angeles area. If any audience there ever come to Los Angeles and trying to find you, where can they find you? Through Instagram? Redondo Beach?
Yeah, Ui Eli.
Okay, no problem.
But then you're only going to see my sports stuff. And well, I guess some of the posts do talk about it. I do talk about it occasionally when my athletes or people will actually talk about their experiences on my testimonials. So
I will link down below into the description and everyone can check that out.